Saga City. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, keep the black on my tent. Niggas talk about business cause it's rich as they want, but can't keep their eyes open after smoking a blunt. Real ones stay high, we got the heart for the hunt, got the brain for the game. So insane and profane, my lane, it won't change. Give that bitch some bow legs after snorting cocaine. Now she go to the strip club and get dough in both ways. I'm the wizard of the Oz, it's my job to get paid. Use an image, a facade, Instagram and a page. Where's a gram for my rage? Rather be standing on stage and have my hands on a gauge. Looking for the long play, smelling piss in hallways. I'll be balling one day, this is just a small phase. If you can't survive the play, grunt like swine in your grave. Watch the dragon wings spread as I'm leaving my cave. And I won't be coming back till they feel heat from the flame. Mr. Read my story, nigga, remember the name. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Pussy niggas think the dark side will leave you depressed. Living in reality will put some hair on your chest. The survival of the fittest, and I wish you your best. I'm just being myself, but niggas think I'm a test. Niggas running in a circle, they be rushing they death. When you find the stairway to heaven, start watching your step, cause you might fall back. And what do you call that? In alleys that's all black. I got a swing and I scratch for small stacks. That's between all the fleas and the rats, pit bulls and the cats, zombies smoking on crack. Have you ever seen a bald hog push a Cadillac? What's the point of this rap shit? I'm not getting no plaques. So when I speak upon wax, I'm releasing the secret that you need to attract. You can bear your own burden, I don't believe in no slack. This the black man's Bible and I'm just preaching the facts. I can at least give you that. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Dark age, last days, I keep the black on my tent. Yeah. We're gonna play this one. I spit mythology, probably as tall as the top of trees. Obviously, you can't cross the G. Mixed with a bit of Socrates, Mephistopheles. Never lost the keys of philosophy. This is POPE. Drop to your knees. I'm the monster to please. Don't fuck with the tease. Treat souls like geese. And on the day of the feast, we watch the dough increase. With every move I make, I choose who's to fake. Never chase a two-face. There are rules to break, but I never lose the case. I win, win, win. And I stay on a bitch's ass like Rin Tin Tin. Not to defend, no legend gonna regret his sins. But only Motown can make these boys the men. The toys I'm in are large and in charge for your fake ass facade. I'm a Saga City nigga, we be going too hard. The God 720 descent from the stars, I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take the tilted crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take the tilted crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. This is Robin Artisan, chewing on the hearts of men with the darkest of skin. I hearken the wind, sipping green demon Heineken for the vice and the sin. Let the larkin begin. Yeah, I'm a different nigga. Mind your business, bitch, and get your figures. Immortal spectacle, I deliver the state of the art. Watch me take my gun apart. Only animals survive Noah's Ark. I bark when I eat raw, I heat saw. When I seek y'all, treat your beef like a meatball. The present can never walk, you see in my balls. Sipping whiskey, he calls, standing 20 feet tall. Elite eagle, we only live by tooth and the claw. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take that children crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take that telltale crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. The python with Venom, I move like recon on the streets of Henom. Everyone wants to hunt the King Kong, conquer just to be strong. Heads on the altar could never be wrong. Your weakness best to be gone. Let the OG get his preach on and say amen. We slay and skin anybody in my way when the days are grim. Keep an exotic bitch that's way past 10. It is 3 a.m. We still getting this cash. Never know what cell phone call might be our last. When we blessed from the stress, we laugh. Always best to smash. Never arrest or clash with the police above the law. God is keeping the peace, cause I'm known on the streets. So sit down and have a drink with the Cro-Magnon beast. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take the telltale crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take that telltale crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Tell me what's more powerful, the pen or the sword? I'm a master of both, call me the warrior lord. Eyes are horny for gore, sharpest tusks of a boar. Don't nobody want war, with that riff-raff more. Everybody gets touched, there's dry blood on your swords. Everybody gets fucked, like your wife on my door. My lyrics come from my core, once I was vague up I'm poor. Now I walk on red carpets and they open up doors. We've all seen it before, yes, the smiles and the lies, the drama and the cries. Mode 5 on my side when I solo ride. Hear the screeching outside, black skies and red eyes, high heels and black ties, long money, large pride. Every time we laugh, we hold a savage inside. Everybody claims God, can't hate that I tried. I arrived in Sin City and the devil supplied, so now he don't gotta hide. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take that telltale crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT. Right hand up, left hand down. Now show me the nigga that wants to take the telltale crown. I am the GOAT. I am the GOAT.
Yo, what's cracking? The first song was the Dark Age. Sorry about it starting over and over. I wasn't hearing it, and I needed to, I had my shit was disconnected, and I ain't know it. And then the second one, no, the first one was Dark Age off of the Onyx tablet. The second one was the GOAT from the Shaka Zulu. And fun fact, that's the last beat I made. So I made that beat years ago. I actually had that beat. The story behind that beat is I was trying to teach my shorty how to make beats, and I made that beat. No. That's the story with the song The Money Religion. So I did make the beat for The Money Religion. Okay. But I think this beat was made before that, before I used it, because I be having beats that's been sitting around for a long time. So, and then certain beats don't match with certain concepts of the album, so it's got to fit right. And that one was the GOAT. That was the last beat I made though. And that was on the Shaka Zulu album. You know, it was pretty fire. You know, yeah, it's 60 degrees in Las Vegas today. Is beautiful. And I told the people that that the witchcraft was calling, you know. So I said, okay, let's see what we got to do. And the energy is ferocious this month. We just went through the wolf moon, okay? And you know, it's a lot of let's talk about a little bit of political stuff before we get into it. This video is definitely a kicked out of heaven video. And I looked at the book because I got to read it right here, right now. We're going to go in on Peter Stumpf, who was the most famous werewolf case out of Germany. And Donald Trump needs some of his werewolf energy in the game. The Republican, you know. And the reason why I say that is because of everything that's going on at the border of Texas. Now, I'm a Texas nigga. I've lived in Texas. I got family in Texas right now. Matter of fact, my cousin just made a post who's in Texas, said niggas be making these podcasts talking about absolutely fucking nothing. Exactly that, my nigga. Ain't got no conversation skills, you know. But a lot of the subjects that I talk about, people are scared to talk about them in public. People act like they don't even put people on to my shit because, you know, it causes cognitive dissonance. I've heard that for years. You know, when people be like, yo, I love this nigga shit, let me put you on. And motherfucker can't even swallow the pill. It's too large, the whole shit. The werewolf, the everything. And we just had the wolf moon on the 25th, which was 2 days ago. And it's in Leo. So my moon sign is a Taurus, just to be clear. Okay. So that's Hathor, that's, the moon god Thoth, and all of that. The energy is right there, the moon and Taurus. So I got to make money on nighttime, basically, because the moon sign is your money sign. So, was the year of the dragon. The year of the dragon actually doesn't start until February 10th. So, but we're feeling it now. We're feeling the energy. The energy is large for the month of January. It's a beautiful thing. There was an event last night. I didn't even know the location. I should have pulled up to, but I'm performing tonight at a spot, and I'm gonna have it recorded. I have somebody there and all of this other shit. It's popular demand season for the 720, for the God 720, But we cannot forget a lot of when we go into this hip hop zone, the importance of the medieval, the importance of the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women. This is all hip hop at the same time. Let's not get it fucking confused up in here. All of this is hip hop. Okay. And we made the medieval hip hop. I did, at least. The Wu-Tang, there's a dude out of the Wu-Tang, I think it's Killer Priest, who has a album called The Elizabeth, where he's talking about all medieval before, this was really put out years ago. So, that's a beautiful thing. I hope to get a invite on his show, make it do a thing on his show. He's played some of my music before. So we're going to try and do that, But as of right now, I thought it was pertinent to discuss the werewolf. I need the werewolf energy, You do too. The werewolf energy is a dominant, forceful, ferocious. It is the bottom line of what masculinity is. You understand? The Western form of masculinity, which we see in movies like Wolf of Wall Street. That movie is ferocious. It's one of my favorite movies. It's a reality, that a lot of people live through. When you're gonna get the money, seriousness is read as ferociousness to the layman's man, to the average. There's gods that are birthed on the planet, And a lot of people get that whole line of what that is because these individuals, they come into the dimension with mass amounts of power, mass amounts of speed, or mass amounts of mastery on whatever they're designated for when it comes to being in, when it comes to inculcating an element, whether that be, snakes or bicycle riding, or, growing a certain fruit, or, there's the human every human is designed for a specific mastery. And that is where they become the god. When they become expert specialists in that one field. And it could be multiple fields because there is no field that is an island. Okay. And that's what happened to me with the Kicked Out of Heaven. It was just I have an interest rate. I'm interested in things. I like to communicate, you know. So when I got into it, the medieval, it was just one thing after another. One thing after this. It's like, why they keep on talking about wolves over here in this subject I'm dealing with? You know what I'm saying? They talk about a lot of wolves in the famine section. I mean, in the beginning, the natural disaster section, the very first chapter. I made sure that got embedded in the psyche a little bit before we got to the werewolf section, which was deep in the bowels of the volume 2. Okay, but I had to let you know that the wolf was a part of the scene with the first chapter. And the first chapter was so ferocious, you hear the screams. If you did not hear the screams in the first chapter of the Kicked Out of Heaven, then you were not reading effectively. You weren't focused. Your body may not be clear, your mind may not be clear. Therefore, you won't hear the screams. But there's a couple of sections where, you'll hear what's going on. And that's definitely what occurs in the first chapter. And then when we get to the torture section, you hear, faint screams. It isn't as loud as the first chapter. You hear faint screams. You hear some bones popping. You definitely see that. And then if you really go deep, because you understand, I had to read these books from cover to cover. So the little sections that y'all got is just only little sections. I invoked the whole energy from the original literature and shit. And I read over 100 to 150 books I read in order to compose the 3-volume series, right? So in the torture section, you should see the power of the origins of the medical sciences and the medical practices when it comes to surgery and things of that nature. And then you understand the power of the human body with the nervous system and what the nervous system can take you through, or what it is, the doorway. It is the doorway to all other dimensions, is the what the nervous system is, because it's so, I think it's over 28,000 miles of nerves in your body or something. I think it's like 60,000 in your brain or something like that. Hold on, let me see here. We'll do it real quick. How many miles of nerves in the human brain? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, well, okay. It says 37 miles of nerves in the human body. I'm over here talking thousands and shit. What the fuck? Hold on. It says 45 miles. Let me see the brain. But even within that extent, you definitely have a large system for combinations, and those different combinations are the different dimensions people live in, whether it be, the Mexican Aztec is building adobes and shit on the side of the mountain, or whether it be the African tribes over here, with the mud huts and the grass on the top of the, or whether it be the Indians in America with teepees and totem poles. You know what I'm saying? They're all different wire combinations that allow for that production in their environment, and that's also inclusive with their style of language and culture and all of that. And then, as above, so below, that's also the astrological influence that's right above that geographical area. Okay, so when we go into the medieval with the torture thing, you see the nerves. of the human body, the whole, like I got to a level of the understanding of that the nerve you can wire the nerves up in a position where, I mean, the thought and the brain can, where you're sitting there biting your hand until you die, or chewing off your own arm, or just completely just moving your, like, you can take, the nervous system is its own brain basically, and it's a powerful motherfucker, man. It's hard to explain because we're talking about time periods. We're talking about with that being not left out, with the influence of what I'm trying to explain here. When it comes to that nervous system, you can, wire a person to continuously kick themselves and won't stop. You can, wire a person to chew off their own tongue, which is an experience that happened a lot during torture situations. There's mass amounts of limits. So you get that image during the torture section. And then when you have the very end of it, it blacks you out. There's a snap right at where, everything goes black after reading that torture section in the volume 1, and then volume 2, it was just one thing after another, bro. It was just the way the whole thing was set up was just wild. The information just kept on coming at me and coming at me and coming at me, and I had to organize it all right, and I had to read this shit 5-6 times. So, enough of me ranting and raving. We're gonna go in on Peter and Stumpf. And Peter Stumpf was the most famous werewolf case in Germany. You got to understand, people, I was just like you at one time. I didn't know nothing about this shit. We've been watching movies about werewolves for the longest. It's been embedded in our Halloween. But the psychological essence of what the werewolf represents is definitely a mass amount, or the motherboard of the stereotype. It is the spirit of the stereotype. It is the ancient spirit of the stereotype that we call masculinity. You understand? Yeah, because we have to understand that the provision that women seek from men, it comes from the animal kingdom. Code mimicking, and lions, cheetahs don't provide at all. Hold on here, okay. Cheetahs don't provide at all. They just get the women pregnant and leave. But other groups like the lions, even when it comes to the chimpanzees, gorillas, and all of that, there's a pecking order, and that pecking order is ran by the top male, right? So we also have a similarity here in the world today, and there's so many humans, it's been divided up in different forms, which is described here. You have a masculine alpha. I mean, you have a intellectual alpha. You have a doofus alpha. You have a financial alpha. There's a different alphas. Okay, let's break that down. And I got each one broken down up in here. So there's a lot of stuff that deals with just male and female communication and our social sciences inside the encyclopedia as well. That's because that's a part of the picture. So we're not just talking about women only and their makeup definitions and stuff in there. There's a lot of social litigation in there. So let's get to it. I got to read a lot. The stars when it done. The werewolf energy must be in the land at this time. We need it at the border. I meant to talk about that. The Texas border looks shitty. I saw some videos. I don't know if it was exactly that I was looking at on the video, but that's what they were stating it, and it was titled as, but people nowadays are full of shit. They just do shit for views, but it looked terrible. And the numbers that I'm hearing in the news sort of validated the video I was looking at. So it's ridiculous, what's going on down there. And I'm not too far from that zone. And Texas is a home, to me, but Vegas is the home. I will be here for a very long time. You understand? So I have a phenomenal history here. And we got more history to make. The show ain't over, folks. Trust me on that shit. Popular demand is up. So let's do it. Let's do the Peter Stumpf. We got to bring the medieval into the hip hop real quick. Let me see here what we got here. Okay, should I read that case too? Giles Grenier. No, but we'll talk about we'll talk about this picture real quick. Okay. Let me see here what we doing. Okay. Y'all see it? Yeah, that's it. There it is. The madness. I went through some heavy energies with this shit, man. I ain't even gonna lie. So, what is the werewolf? Never mind my voice changing or my style of talk tanking. That's just a part of the nature of what's going on with this information. This energy is real strong. I'll tell you that shit. It's real strong. So, to have that shit running in your veins is kind of crazy. But yeah, this picture on the left is called the werewolf. This is a famous drawing done in 1509, or the cannibal. As you see, there's human body parts everywhere strode apart on the drawing. There's a head right here. There's a head right here. There's a head right here. There's legs right here. There's an arm right here. Okay. And then we have some bloke that is in the assailant, the criminal, is here in lycanthropy condition, which also may be confused with werewolf. And then we also have a with werewolfism. Werewolfism is the occult definition, and lycanthropy is the medical classification of this type of activity of one posturing himself like a wolf, a dog, and acting out the activities of said animal and thinking he is such, but not appearing as such to others. That is lycanthropy. Werewolf is appearing to others as a wolf, as have to converge from a man to a quadruped, and that's walking on all fours. Okay. And he has the baby in his mouth, as you see, right? So then over here in the corner, you have the little kid perversely attacking the older lady. There are also two family crest symbols up here, coat of arms right here. And we don't know exactly to what family that is, but let's not forget the castle in the background, the bulls right here, as you see in the middle. And there is also a swan to represent the small amount of peace and calm that is inside nature, as the majority of it is brutal. Okay, then we have the bull right here, and some other bloke looking over the edge, not stopping anything. So he's probably a drunkard that is using the liquor to blind himself from the activity. All right. Let me see here. Let's get to the story. This is Peter Stumpf. And this right here is the drawing that was done, is a woodcut that was done in 1589. And this woodcut is explaining his execution after being convicted of being a werewolf, and we'll be reading his charges and his story shortly. As you see up here up top, we have the wolf attacking the man, which makes the combination As you played off as a wolf to attack man, we will now let the wolves attack you, is what this is stating here. And then down here, he is placed upon the the wheel. Sorry about that. He is placed upon the wheel with the hot tongs right here in the fire so they can turn red, and the blower to keep the fire going. And as he is on the wheel, his limbs get put in between each spoke, and they wrap and they blindfold him as they use the tongs to rip out his flesh, to rip out muscle by muscle. And that is one of the arts of knife fighting, is knowing what muscles to cut, so it'll completely disable the opponent. And then right here on the wheel, after he's already been pinchered, is what they call it, they're about to hack off his head. So they lop off his head, all right, and they place him upon the wheel up here that's in the sky, and they put his head on top of the corpse of a dog. And then after that, they drag his body into the fire. It is the full process. One step of the process that I did miss, though, is the hangman. They hung him first before they put him on the wheel. You hang them until they're half dead. There's a science to hanging. So, and then after that, they put him in the fire over here. Okay, headless as you see, right here on the stake. His body being drugged. So that was the woodcut of the execution, being produced in 1589. And here is the story of Peter Stumpf and why it's relative to the Wolf Moon, and why it is also relative to Donald Trump. Here we go. Peter Stumpf's name is also spelled as Peter Stubb. This is with an E, Peter Stubb or Peter Stumpf. And other aliases included such names as Abal Griswold, Abil Griswold, and Ubal Griswold. The name Stump or Stumpf may have been given him as a reference to the fact that his left hand had been cut off, leaving only a stump, in German Stump. Hence, it was the left hand that was cut off, which is also correlated to dark black magic and being the left hand path. So there's a lot of matrix communication that's going on, and you'll surely see here. It was alleged that as the werewolf had its left forepaw cut off, then the same injury proved the guilt of the man. Stump was born at the village of Eprath, near the country town of Bedburg in the electorate of Cologne. His date of birth is not known, as the local church registers were destroyed during the 30 Years' War, that's from 1618 to 1648. He was a wealthy farmer of his rural community. During the 1580s, he seems to have been a widower with 2 children, a girl called Sibyl, which is in quotations, who seems to have been older than 15 years old, and a son of an unknown age. During the years before his trial, he had an intimate relationship with a distant relative named Katharina Trump, also spelled Trumpin or Trompin. Okay. So Katharina Trump in the 1580s, I looked up Donald Trump's family line and it only gave information back to the 1800s. So this is in 1589. During 1589, Stumpf had one of the most lurid and famous werewolf trials of history. After being stretched on a rack and before further torture commenced, he confessed to having practiced black magic since he was 12 years old. He claimed that the devil had given him a magical belt or girdle, which enabled him to metamorph into the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like fire, a mouth great and wide, with most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body and mighty paws. Removing the belt, he said, made him transform back to his human form. For 25 years, Stumpf had allegedly been an insatiable bloodsucker who gorged on the flesh of goats, lambs, and sheep, as well as men, women, and children. Being threatened with torture, he confessed to killing and eating 14 children, two pregnant women, whose fetuses he ripped from their wombs and ate their hearts, panting hot and raw, which he later described as dainty morsels. One of the 14 children was his own son, whose brain he was reported to have devoured. Not only was Stump accused of being a serial murderer and cannibal, but also of having incestuous relationship with his daughter, who was sentenced to die with him, and that he had coupled with a distant relative, which was also considered to be incestuous according to the law. In addition to this, he confessed to having had intercourse with a succubus sent to him by the devil. The execution of Stomp on October 31st, 1589, Halloween night, and of his daughter and mistress is one of the most brutal on record. He was put to a wheel where his flesh was torn from his body in 10 pieces with red hot pincers, followed by his arms and legs. Then his limbs were broken with a blunt side of an axe head to prevent him from returning from the grave. Before he was beheaded and his body burned on a pyre, his daughter and mistress had already been flayed and strangled and were burned along with Stump's body as a warning against similar behavior. Local authorities erected a pole with the torture wheel and the figure of a wolf on it, and at the very top they placed Peter Stump's severed head. It was hard enough just to get anything to grow in a time before pest control and fertilizers. Then there was the constant threat of roving brigands who had no qualms about stealing your livestock or burning your crops. But for farmer Peter Stubb, life was even tougher. Stubb also had to deal with accusations of being a werewolf in cahoots with the devil who murdered children and pregnant women. Stubb or Stump, depending on the source, was a prosperous farmer who lived just outside Bedburg, a small city in Germany's Rhineland, then part of the rickety Holy Roman Empire. It was a time of upheaval with Protestants fighting Catholics and a whole lot of power struggles by various minor princes and other such royal riffraff. The area where Stubb lived had most recently been devastated due to the Cologne War, also known as the Sewer War. The name is apparently derived from a battle in which the Catholic forces stormed a castle through its primitive sewer system. It was at this time that townspeople began turning up dead. There were whisperings of a wolf like creature roaming the countryside, killing both humans and livestock. The creature was described as greedy, strong, and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like unto brands of fire, a mouth great and wide, with most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body, and mighty paws. People were soon traveling from town to town, only in large, heavily armed bands. Travelers and sometimes stumble on victims' remains in the fields, raising the level of terror even higher. When a child would go missing, the parents would immediately assume all was lost and that the wolf had taken another victim. Although every effort was made to try and kill the creature, it eluded capture for several years until 1589, when a group of men tracking the wolf with their hounds encircled it. When they moved in for the kill, the wolf was nowhere to be seen. They instead found Stubb. There seems to be some confusion as to whether they actually saw him transform back from being a wolf or if he just happened to be traveling through the woods at this inopportune moment. Either way, under the threat of torture, he confessed to the murders of 13 children, two pregnant women, and one man, but that was just the start of it. According to the anonymous pamphlet that circulated in London the next year, that was based on an earlier Dutch version and is the primary existing source of Stubbs' tale. He told his captors that at age 12 he made a pact with the devil, with the Prince of Lies, getting his soul in exchange for numerous worldly pleasures. But this wasn't enough to satisfy Stubb, who was a wicked fiend, pleased with the desire of wrong and destruction, and inclined to blood and cruelty. So the devil gave him a magic belt that turned the farmer into a killing machine in the form of a wolf. Thusly attired, Stubb went on a spree, taking pleasure in the shedding of blood, eating unborn children, as well as killing and eating his own son, born out of an incestuous relationship with his daughter. He allegedly took a she demon as a mistress, along with a good Christian woman he seduced, and generally committed murder and mayhem on a grand scale. He also apparently had a penchant for livestock. One would guess that as a prosperous farmer, he wasn't killing his own animals, and especially liked lambs and kids, baby goats in the case, as opposed to human children. Stubb, who loved his secret life as a werewolf, took great pleasure in walking through the streets of Bedburg, hailing the families and friends of his victims, none of them aware that the gentleman farmer was a homicidal maniac. During these sojourns, so he would sometimes pick out his next victim, and by whatever means he could, would get them out into the fields where he would ravish them and cruelly murder them, according to the pamphlet. So it's just like the same thing today. Oh, they were so nice and he was so nice, and this nigga got wallpaper as human skin up a chin. So don't act like a lot of the stuff that you just heard you don't hear on your news, because you have, you know. So let's keep it going. For Stubbs' alleged crimes, he was ordered to have his body laid on a wheel and with red hot burning pincers in 10 several places to have the flesh pulled off from the bones. After that, his legs and arms to be broken with a wooden axe or hatchet. Afterward, to have his head struck from his body, then to have his carcass burned to ashes. His unfortunate daughter, Beale Stubb, and his mistress, Catherine Trumpin, were also put to the stake as accessories to the murders. Geography, religion, and politics worked against Stubb. He was living in an era of werewolf hysteria in both Germany and France that reached its zenith in the 1590s. In times of chaos, people have traditionally blamed things on the supernatural and usually looked for the oddest and least well connected person in town to use as a scapegoat. In Stubbs' case, it's likely that his being a Protestant in an area that was at the time being held by Catholic forces that may have made him a target. So he was a Protestant. That's a further connection. Okay, because it was the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, the WASP, that founded America. The Sewer War, which lasted from 1583 to 1588, began as a small time conflict in Cologne over whether the prince elector of the city, who had just converted to Protestantism, could force the conversion of his subjects. Soon, Spanish troops and Italian mercenaries were brought in on the side of the Catholics, while monetary support from France and England poured in for the Protestants. This war was a warm up for the much bigger and longer 30 Years' War, which, as the name suggests, lasted for 3 decades and was both a religious and politically motivated conflagration involving several European countries that began as a fight between Catholics and Protestants within the Holy Roman Empire and evolved or devolved, depending on your perspective, into a power struggle between the House of Bourbon in France and the Habsburgs of Austria. With that in mind, it's worth exploring whether Stubb was actually a serial killer who believed himself to be a werewolf for thousands of years, straight back to the epic poem of Gilgamesh. Humans have believed in lycanthropy, a fancy term for the act of becoming a werewolf. In the 1500s, there was a rash of trials for people accused of being werewolves, with most of the proceedings ending in the accused being put to death. But even at that time, among the educated, the idea of lycanthropy was beginning to be understood as psychologically based. For 5 years, 5 years before Stubb was put to death, the writer Reginald Scott, in his book Discovery of Witchcraft, argued lycanthropia is a disease and not a transformation. In Stubbs' case, it's possible he was suffering from clinical lycanthropy. The diagnosis, recognized in the DSM-4, is thought to be a cultural manifestation or schizophrenia and associated with bouts of psychosis, hallucinations, and disorganized speech and grossly disorganized behavior. There was a documented case from the 1970s in which a 49-year-old woman, after having sex with her husband, suffered a 2-hour episode during which she growled, scratched, and gnawed at the bed. According to Harvey Rostenstock, MD, and Kenneth R. Vincent, ED, in their article, The American Journal of Psychiatry, the woman later said the devil came into her body and she became an animal. The article goes on to say that there was no drug involvement or alcoholic intoxication. The brother must have had some slab on the bitch's back. Do you understand? This was just one of the instances in which the woman had a lycanthropic episode. The authors opinioned that people experience lycanthropy when their internal fears exceed their coping mechanisms, and they externalize those fears via projection and can constitute a serious threat to others. It's not just wolves that suffers of clinical lycanthropy transform into, while in many cases lycanthropy is associated with wolves. There have been cases where patients believed they were sharks, leopards, elephants, or eagles, among other feared animals. In pre 20th century Europe, it made sense that the wolf was the feared animal of choice for someone suffering from lycanthropy, since wolves could wipe out a farmer's livestock and thus their livelihood fairly easily, and were known to kill humans, mostly children. For example, in the 3-month period in central Sweden between December 1820th and the March 1821st, there were 31 wolf attacks resulting in 12 deaths. All the fatalities, except one, were children, and it was believed a single wolf killed them. The truth behind Stubbs' story, like countless others who suffered similar fates, remains lost to history. Throughout the ages, such individuals have been feared because of their tendencies to commit bestial acts and were themselves hunted and killed by the populace. Many of these people were paranoid schizophrenics, wrote Rostenstock and Vincent. Following Stubbs' uh, execution, the wheel on which the farmer suffered unspeakable pain was attached to a high pole and left on public display in Bedburg as a continual monument to all ensuing ages, an image of a wolf and a likeliness of the farmer secured above. Okay, let me see. All right, so let's keep it moving. This is the last thing I'm gonna read on this. This is the discourse that was written on Peter Stumpf. Okay, so this is the year the dragon be ferocious. If you see, I have the Arkansas hog on my hat. I'm a boar. Okay, when it comes to Chinese astrology, so we're going to bring in the ferociousness today. Is what we're going to do. You understand? Buy the Kicked Out of Heaven right now. It's going for $50 at kickedoutofheaven.com. You need it. You're gonna need it because you're gonna have to represent nothing but ferocious power for the rest of the year. Okay, so let's start out on the right foot. Obviously, it's astrologically designed like that. It was the wolf moon on the 25th, right? So here we go. The Werewolf at London, printed for Edward Bain and are to be sold in Fleet Street at the sign of the Vine. Okay, and most discourse declaring the life. A most true discourse declaring the life and death of one Stub Peter, being a most wicked sorcerer. Now, I got to read this a little slow because this is written in medieval format. Okay, those whom the Lord doth lead to follow the imagination of their own hearts, despising his proffered grace. In the end, through the hardness of heart and contempt of his fatherly mercy, they enter the right path to perdition and destruction of the body and soul forever. As in this present history in perfect sort may be seen, the strangeness whereof, together with the cruelties committed and the long time therein continued, may drive many in doubt whether the same be truth or no, and the rather for that sundry false and fabulous matters have heretofore passed in print, which hath wrought much incredulity in ye hearts of all men generally, insomuch that now a days few things do escape, be it uh, never so certain, but that it is embased by the term of a lie or false report. In the reading of this story, therefore, I do first request reformation of opinion, next patience to peruse it, because it is published for example's sake, and lastly, to censor thereof as reason and wisdom doth think uh, convenient, considering the subtlety that Satan useth to work the souls of destruction. The soul's destruction, and the great matters which the accursed practice of sorcery doth affect, the fruits whereof is death and destruction forever, and yet in all ages practice. By the reprobate and wicked of the earth, some in one sort and some in another, even as the devil giveth promise to perform. But of all other that ever lived, none was comparable unto this hellhound, whose tyranny and cruelty did well declare he was of his father the devil, who was a murderer from the beginning, whose life and death and most bloody practices the discourse following doth make it just report. In the towns of Sipparat and Bedburg, need unto Colin and that's probably Cologne in High Germany. There was continually brought up and nourished one Stub Peter, who from his youth was greatly inclined to evil and the practicing of wicked arts, even from 12 years of age till 20, and so forwards till his dying day, insomuch that surfeiting in the damnable desire of magic, necromancy, and sorcery, acquainting himself with many infernal spirits and fiends, insomuch that forgetting ye God that made him, and that Savior that shed his blood for man's redemption, in the end careless of salutation. I mean, yeah, careless of salutation, gave both soul and body to the devil forever, for small carnal pleasure in his life, that he might be famous and spoken of on earth, though he lose heaven thereby. The devil, who hath a ready ear to listen to the lewd motions of cursed men, promised to give unto him whatsoever his heart desired during his mortal life. Whereupon this vile wretch, neither desired riches nor promotion, nor was his fancy satisfied with any external or outward pleasure, but having a tyrannous heart and a most cruel, bloody mind, he only requested that at his pleasure he might uh, work his work his malice on man, women and children, in the shape of some beast, whereby he might uh, live without dread or danger of life, and unknowing to be the executor of any bloody enterprise which he meant to commit. The devil, who saw him a fit instrument to perform mischief as a wicked fiend, pleased with the desire of wrong and destruction, gave unto him a girdle, which being put about him, he was straight transformed into the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like unto brands of fire, a mouth great and wide, and most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body and mighty paws. And no sooner should he put off the same girdle, but presently he should appear in his former shape, as if he changed. Stub Peter herewith was exceedingly well pleased, and the shape fitted his fancy, and agreed best with his nature, being inclined to blood and cruelty. Therefore, satisfied with this strange and devilish gift, for that it was not troublesome nor great in carriage, but that it might be hidden in a small room, he proceeded to the execution of sundry most heinous and vile murders. For if any person displeased him, he would incontinent their thirst and for revenge. And no sooner should they or any of theirs walk abroad in the fields or about the city, but in the shape of a wolf he would presently encounter them, and never rest till he had plucked out their throats and tear their uh, joints asunder. And after he had gotten a taste thereof, he took such pleasure and delight in shedding of blood that he would night and day walk the fields and work extreme cruelties. And sundry times, he would go through the streets of Cologne, Bedburg, and Sipperat in calmly habit, and very civilly, as one well known to all the inhabitants thereabout, and oftentimes was he saluted of those whose fiends and children he had butchered, though nothing suspected for the same. In these places, I say, he would walk up and down, and if he could by any means get them alone, he would in the fields ravish them, and after in his wolfish likeness, wolfish likeness, cruelly murder them. Yea, often it came to pass that as he walked about the fields, if he uh, if he chanced to spy a company or maidens playing together, or else a milking of their kind, in his woolish shape, in his wolfish shape, he would incontinent run and escape by flight, he would be sure to lay hold of one, and after his filthy lust fulfilled, he would murder her presently. Beside, if he had liked or known any of them, look who he had a mind unto, where he would pursue, whether were before or the rest, for such was his swiftness of foot while he continued a wolf, that he would outrun the swiftest greyhound in the country. And so much he had practiced this wickedness, that ye whole province was feared by the cruelty of this bloody and devouring wolf. Those continuing his devilish and damnable deeds within the compass of few years, he had murdered 13 young children and two goodly young women big with child, tearing the children out of their wombs in most bloody and savage sort, and after eat their hearts panting hot and raw, which he accounted dainty morsels and best agreeing to his appetite. Moreover, used many times lambs and kids and such like beasts, feeding on the same most visually raw and bloody, as if he had been a natural wolf indeed, so that all men mistrusted nothing less than his devilish sorcery. He had at the living a fair young damosel to his daughter, after whom also lusted incest with her, a most gross and wild sin, far surmounting adultery and fornication, though the least of the three doth drive the soul into hell fire, except hearty repentance and the fret mercy of God. This daughter of his he begot when he was not altogether so wicked given, who also called by the name of Stumpf, whose beauty and good grace was such as deserved commendations of all those that knew her. And such was his inordinate lust and filthy desire toward her, that he begot a child by her, daily using her as a concubine, but as an insatiate and filthy beast, given over to work evil. With greediness, he also lay by his own sister, frequenting her company long time, even according to the wickedness of his heart lead him. Moreover, being on a time sent for to a gossip of his there to make merry and good cheer, ere he thence departed, he so won the woman by his fire and flattering speech, by his fair and flattering speech, and so much prevailed. Yet here he departed the house. He lay by her, and ever after, and her company at his command. This woman had to name Catherine Trumpet, a woman of tall and comely stature, by exceeding good favor, and one that was well esteemed among her neighbors. But his lewd and inordinate lust, being not satisfied with the company of many concubines, nor his wicked fancy contented with the beauty of any woman, at length the devil send into him a wicked spirit in the similitude and likeness of a woman, so fair of a face and comely personage, that she resembled rather some heavenly helphin than an mortal creature. So fair her beauty exceeded the uh, choicest sort of women, and with her, as with his heart's delight, he kept company the space of 7 years, though in the end she proved and was found indeed no other than a she devil. Notwithstanding this lewd sin of lechery, did not anything assuage his cruel and bloody mind, but continuing an insatiable bloodsucker. So great was the joy he took therein, that he accounted no day spent in pleasure wherein he had not shed some blood, not respection so much who he did murder, as how to murder and destroy them, as the matter in sowing doth manifest, which may stand for a special note of a cruel and hard heart, for having a proper youth to his son, begotten in the flower and strength of his age, the first fruit of his body, in whom he took such uh, joy that he did commonly call him his heart's ease, yet so far his delight in murder exceeded the joy he took in his only son, and thirsting after his blood. On a time he enticed him into the fields, and from thence into a forest hard by, were making excuse to stay about the necessaries of nature, while the young man went on forward. Incontinent in the shape and likeness of a wolf, he encountered his own son, and there most cruelly slew him, which uh, which done, he presently eat the brains of his head as a most savory and dainty delicious mean, to staunch his greedy appetite. The most the most monstrous act that ever heard of, for never was known a wretch from nature so far degenerate. Long time he continued. Yeah, oh, hold on. You see that right there? Talking about the degenerates. When they say degenerate of that time period, that's completely different than what we say today of a degenerate. Okay. So if you ever seen the Whitaker family, I think in West Virginia, or the White family, I think it's called, that's what they're talking about when they say degenerate in the medieval time periods. Okay. Long time he continued this wild and villainous life, sometimes in the likeness of a wolf, sometimes in the habit of a man, sometimes in the towns and cities, and sometimes in the woods and thickets of them a dining. Whereas the Dutch copy maketh mention, he on a time met with 2 men and 1 woman, whom he greatly desired to murder, and the better to bring his devilish purpose to effect, doubting by them to be overmatched, and knowing one of them by name, he used this policy to bring them to their end in subtle sort. He conveyed himself far before them in their way, and craftily couched out of their sight. But as soon as they approached near the place where he lay, he called one of them by his name, supposing it was some familiar friend, that in jesting sort stood right out of his sight, went from his company toward the place from whence the voice proceeded, of purpose to see who it was. But he was no sooner entered within the danger of this transformed man, but incontinent he was murdered in ye place, the rest of his company staying for him, expecting still his return. But finding his stay overlong, the other man left the woman, and went to look him, by which means the second man was also murdered. The woman then seeing neither or of both return again, in heart suspected that some evil had fan upon them, and therefore with all the power she had, she sought to save herself by flight, thought, though it nothing prevailed. For good soul, she was also soon overtaken by this light-footed wolf, whom he, when he had first deflowered, he after most cruelly murdered. The men were after found mangled in the woods, but the woman's body was never after seen, for she, the the Catais, had most ravenished, okay, ravenous soured, whose flesh he esteemed both sweet and dainty in taste. Okay. Thus, this damnable stub Peter lived the term of 5 and 20 years, unsuspected to be author of so many cruel and unnatural murders, in which time he had destroyed and spoiled an unwoken number of men, women, and children, sheep, lambs, and goats, and other cattle. For when he could not, through the wariness of people, draw men, women, or children in his danger, then, like a cruel and tyrannous beast, he would work his cruelty on brute beasts in most savage sort, and did act more mischief and cruelty than would be credible, although High Germany hath been forced to taste the truth thereof. By which means the inhabitants of Cologne, Bedford, and Cypret, seeing themselves so grievously endangered, plagued and molested by this greedy and cruel wolf, who wrought continual harm and mischief, insomuch that few or none durst travel to or from those places without good provision of defense, and all of fear of this devouring and fierce wolf. For oftentimes the inhabitants found the arms and legs of dead men, women, and children scattered up and down the fields, to their great grief and vexation of heart, knowing the same to be done by that strange and cruel wolf, whom by no means they could take or overcome, so that if any man or woman missed their child, they were they were out of hope ever to see it again alive, mistrusting straight that the wolf had destroyed it. And here is to be noted a most strange thing, which setteth forth the great power and merciful providence of God to ye comfort of each Christian heart. There were not long ago certain small children playing in a meadow together hard by ye town, where also some store of kine were feeding, many of them having young calves sucking upon them. And so daintily among these children comes the wild wolf, running and caught a pretty fine girl by the collar, with intent to pull out her throat. But such as but such was the will of God, that he could not pierce the collar of the child's coat, being high and very well stiffened and close clasped about her neck, and therewithal the sudden great cry of the rest of the children which escaped, so amazed the cattle feeding by, that being fearful of to be to be robbed of their young, they altogether came running against the wolf with such force that he altogether came running against with such force that he was presently compelled to let go his hold and to run away to escape ye danger of their horns, by each by which means the child was preserved from death, and God be thanked remains living at this day. Okay. And that this thing is true. Master Tice Artine, a brewer dwelling at Puddleworth in London, being a man of the country born and one of good reputation and account, is able to justify who is near kinsman to this child, and hat from thence twice received letters concerning the same, and for that first and for that the first letter did rather drive him into wondering at the act when then yielding credit thereunto. He had shortly after at request of his writing another letter sent him, whereby he was more fully satisfied, and divers other persons of great credit in London hath in like sort received letters from their friends to the like effect. Likewise in the towns of Germany aforesaid continual prayer was used unto God that it would please him to deliver the one them from the danger of this greedy wolf. And although they had practiced all the means that men could devise to take this ravenous beast, yet unto the Lord had determined his fall, they could not in any wise prevail. Notwithstanding, they daily continued their purpose and daily sought to entrap him, and for that intent continually made great um, masters and dogs of much strength to hunt. Oh, mastiffs and dogs of strength. Okay. And chase the beast wheresoever they could find him. In the end, it pleased God as they were in readiness and provided to meet with him, that they should spy him with his wolfish likeness. Okay. At what time they beset him around about and most circumspectal set their dogs upon him in such sort that there was no means to escape, at which advantage they never could get him before no way to escape the imminent danger. And being hardly pursued at the heels, presently he slipped his girdle from about him, whereby the shape of a wolf clean avoided, and he appeared presently in his true shape and likeness, having in his hand a staff as one walking toward the city. But the hunters, whose eyes was steadfastly bent upon the beast, and seeing him in the same place, metamorphosed contrary to their expectation. It wrought a wonderful amazement in their minds, and had it not been that they knew the man so soon as they saw him, they had surely taken the same to have been some devil in a man's likeness. But forasmuch as they knew him to be an ancient dweller in the town, they came unto him, and talking with him, they brought him by communication home to his own house. And finding him to be the man indeed, and no delusion or fantastical motion, they had him incontinent before the magistrates to be examined. Okay, so they took him to court, and thus being apprehended, he was shortly after put to the rake in the town of Bedburg, but fearing the torture, he voluntarily confessed his whole life and made known the villainies which he had committed for the space of 25 years. Also, he confessed how by sorcery he produced of the devil a girdle, which being put on, he forthwith became a wolf, which girdle at his apprehension. He confessed his cast it off in a certain valley, and there left it, which when magistrates heard, they sent to the valley for it, but at their coming found nothing at all. For it may be supposed that it was not to be found. For the devil having brought the wretch to all the shame he could left him to endure, the torments which his deeds deserved. After he had some space been imprisoned, the magistrates found out through due examination of the matter that his daughter Stumpf Bell and his gossip Catherine Trumpin were both accessory to diverse murders committed, was arraigned, and with Stubbs Peter condemned, and their several judgments pronounced the 28th of October in 1589. In this manner, that is to say, Stubbs Peter, as principal malefactor, was judged first to have his body laid on a wheel, and with red-hot burning pincers in 10 several places to have the flesh pulled off from the bones. After that, his legs and arms to be broken with a wooden axe or hatchet. Afterward, to have his head struck from his body, then to have his carcass burned to ashes. Also, his daughter and his gossip were judged to be burned quick to ashes, the same time and day with the carcass of the aforesaid Stumpf Peter, and on the 31st of the same month. And they suffered death accordingly in the town of Bedburg, in the presence of many peers and princes of Germany. Thus, gentle reader, have I set down the true discourse of this wicked man Stumpf Peter, which I desire to be a warning to all sorcerers and witches, which unlawful follow their own devilish imagination to their utter ruin and destruction of their souls eternally. From which wicked and damnable practice, I beseech God, keep all good men, and from the cruelty of the wicked hearts, of their wicked hearts. Amen. After the execution, there was, by the advice of the magistrates of the town of Bedburg, a high pole set up and strongly framed, which first went through ye will whereon he was broken, whereon too also it was fastened. After that, a little above the wheel, the likeness of a wolf was framed in wood, to show unto all men the shape wherein he executed those cruelties. Over that, on the top of the stake, the sorcerer's head itself was set up, and round about the wheel there hung, as it were, 16 persons, that was perfectly known to be murdered by him, and the same ordained to stand there. Let me see here. Okay. For a continual moment to all ensuing ages, what murders by Stumpf Peter was committed with the order of his judgment, as this picture doth more plainly express, witness that this is true. Okay. There we go. So that's the energy of the Peter stuff. Nobody said anything the entire time. Yeah, it's pretty heavy, right? So that's one story of many. When you purchase the Kicked Out of Heaven, okay, get it now, $50. You want the ferocious energy, and read that story a couple of times, it'll be in you. That doesn't mean you're gonna go out there and do that shit. I mean, if you got a weak brain, but the energies that you see on a lot of movies, you've already seen it played out in actors. Okay. Um, and definitely that's how this country was founded. I don't know about any werewolf cases here in America, but I do know there was a lot of witch ones, you know. Shouts out to one of my fans, customers that bought the Kicked Out of Heaven, that lives right down the street from Salem in Boston. So that's the reality of that. Do we have any questions about the werewolf paradigm while we're here? And I had to give y'all that story. There's a lot more. The occult serial killers is all werewolf shit too. Okay. The witch mania and woman hatred. We will be talking about the witchcraft here very, very soon. Okay. So, do we have any questions about the werewolf paradigm? Um, all this around sex. What do you mean? Elaborate a little bit for me, Miss Stephanie Clark. I just werewolf myself here. Just rip my fingernail off. But yeah. Okay. Um, is it around sex? Oh well, the sex part that they're talking about is, you have to understand, in Greece and in Rome, you know, the white female mentality is, they want their men to be crazy. They want their men to be dominant. So they expect for them to take. They expect for them to ravage. They expect for them to attack, and um it is the desire, when it comes to women and with the type of porn that they watch rape porn. So they want to be attacked. They want to be known that they're loved, that somebody cares, somebody's focusing on them. Okay. You could look at it however you want to. And I know a lot of people out there, yeah, that's the native brain. But the native didn't take over the globe. This energy did. And that's just the bottom line to it. So it must be something that they didn't did right, because they took over the globe and they have maintained the globe. Western civilization has influenced and controlled the world for minimum of 3,000, 4,000 years right now. Yeah, all of the shit that you see over there in Turkey, all that shit, China, they influenced all that shit because it was Western civilization that developed televisions and radios first, okay, and guns and police and walkie-talkies, and we're going to the moon and all this other shit. And every other country on this planet is following the method. So this is part of the energy of the understanding of the winning. Once and I mean other cultures understand that too. Chinese and Japan, with them constantly having their women in brothels and in preparation for men, they expect for their men to ravage and take. And that's probably why they're the second richest people on this planet, is the China and the Asians, okay? And also the Dubai and all of that. They're ferocious as well. They try to hide it behind, the sheets that they be wearing and, the turbans and whatnot. But they had a whole couple of years and probably still doing it. Find them Instagram models out there and having great bacchanalia. Once, um, the sisters be too worried about trying to control some shit to be trying to, they can't love on their men in those areas. They can't love on their men like women of other cultures love on their men. And that's why they're able to develop and control and run shit the way they have been, and why blacks can't. I can. I'm gonna have those type of litigations in my paradigm. You know, um, there. That's an interesting question. What is the relationship between the wolf and the lamb? Well, they say um, Jesus is the shepherd of the lamb, right? The sheep herd. Sheep herd is the word shepherd, and the shepherd directs the lamb. Now, who there is a sheep dog that is best in assistance for the shepherd, and there's also another dog. I think it is the collie, the collie, or the dogs that the police use. Um, and I forgot what the dog the police use is called. But anyways, those dogs are good with shepherding lambs. And the lamb gets attacked by the wolf. And the lamb is the symbol of the sheep. That's what we call the people, the sheep, who don't think. And they just go with the flow, and they're told what to do. And it is really weird because it does work like that. I brought a lot of this information to the forefront because I understand that responsibility and intelligence and awareness about your environment is not a thing that's easily put together or easily figured out. So I did the due diligence in figuring it out by detail and bringing it to you so people won't be sheep. But with me bringing it to the people, I discovered that the majority are sheep. If you aren't a sheep, then you would have this material. Okay. $50 right now, kickedoutofheaven.com. Get to it. Stop playing. Okay. Um, take this information, go give it to a friend and just leave it in their house. Buy an extra copy. You got $50 sitting around. Okay, because the brother needs donations. I got things I gotta do. I got events I gotta go to. It's time to make this whole rap side alive. So, and I'm gonna have to do it with the finances that I'm making. So let's not play games. Order the books, because in 30, 40, 50 years from now, you take this shit in front of the Antique Roadshow, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, nigga, do you know the Keenan Booker? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, this is gonna be all of that. The value goes up when it goes to literature. Okay, it is an art form. It's not comparative by the numbers of vehicles. I mean, it will be. There are books that sell for the tens and the 20s and the 30s and 50s of thousands. I've seen them. There's some on eBay right now, that come from the 1800s and 1700s. There's a lot of it. So just know that in 100 years from now, the Keenan Booker on the Kicked Out of Heaven is going to be at very high value, especially if you got the color edition. Okay, I am antique roadshow worthy. This is the true definition of legendary work here. Okay, so go to the kickedoutofheaven.com and get it. You see, so another layer of in response to Miss Stephanie Clark here, when it was talking about the whole sex thing and inside the story, that's just ravaging. That's taking, that's you've seen it on a lot of the movies. So what that is when it comes to the human paradigm is the soft approach. You got to walk before you run when it comes to hunting, for number one. And that is the soft approach. That's taking her out when you walking slowly. You're taking her out and you're having a good time. You've been on a couple of dates and then you got to start running. Now it's time to start. Okay, what is your credit score? How you living? This and that. Okay, you got to tear them guts up. And that's usually what happens when a new relationship begins. Y'all are fucking like rabbits, because the magic is the magic and everything matched like Oreos and milk, and you're going for it. And y'all are fucking like rabbits 3-4 times a day. Boom, 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 boom. It's crazy. And within that is werewolfism. Also, the scenes you've seen on the movie. So the man knocking down all of the shit off of the counter and slamming the woman on the counter, and she's, oh my God, he's taking over and he's grabbing her and kissing her all hard. All of that is werewolfism. That is, not the vampire. The vampire, the Count Dracula, operates a little bit different. He has a little bit more swag. He's not the Dracula prides himself on not being an animal. You understand? That is the dividing line. With the werewolf, he slams her on the thing, he's taking, any position, anywhere in the house, in the kitchen, on the floor over here, and that is the werewolf. That is the relentless rage that must be unleashed, the ferociousness, especially the kissing, because kissing is a thing that only humans can do. The scratching of the back. If you never had a woman scratching your back or digging her nails into you and scratching your skin intentionally, or maybe not even intentionally, in her status of chaos while you beating the guts down and she's scratching you, which I've had that happen to me more than once, scratching all on the back and shit. That is the werewolf. She has also invoked werewolfism. And as it's stated inside the book about a case, it was a woman after the course of sex, she started growling and acting a fool. She wants her hair pulled. Hair is definitely of the paradigm. She wants her hair pulled and her neck snapped back during the course of doggy style. She wants all that fucking crazy shit. And it's called doggy style. So it's a wolf, you see? It's all wolfism. So if you don't have wolfism in you, you don't know when to attack. You don't understand the smells and the scents, and all of that. Because you got to understand, when a wolf eats, his full nostril and is inside the guts, ripping the guts and eating the heart. You have to go. The animal's mouth is inside the other animal, tearing up the organs and the offal. You understand? So yeah. That's what they're talking about. And also what they was talking about with that whole incestual shit is what they're talking about is you can't tell me no, I take what I want. Whenever. That's like the ancient Greece, ancient Roman shit. Okay. And that's how they were operating. And you can see that with the Nero and his mom. And there was a lot of other emperors that was fucking around with their moms and sisters and shit like that. So that was a little touch of that little energy inside the story, and compile the whole thing up so it could stay with them for the future when it comes to the Western thought pattern. You understand? And that is the true energy you want. You want ferocious energy out of your males, and that's why niggas don't do shit. That is why the most ferocious we get is what? Football, nigga, shooting somebody up. Ferociousness is a psychological thing. you know, and it is done, you know, on your woman and with your woman. Also, there's a she wolf. The she wolf is the mother of Rome. Okay, she gave birth to Romulus and Remulus. Okay, and her name is Lupinar, and the Lupinar are prostitutes of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. You know, these motherfuckers is wild. That is the true spirit. You know, if you got all three a few years ago, get them again, brother, because you're gonna need them again. You need 2, 3 copies of the Kicked Out of Heaven, and you have people that you know need that energy as well. Okay, and if they can't face it, one thing I love about the Kicked Out of Heaven, and I love what happened when I put it out, and niggas in the conscious community just stop talking about white people. Yeah, that's right. Sit your pussy ass down somewhere, nigga. Go watch some fucking Family Matters, nigga. Sit your bitch ass down somewhere, nigga, because you're talking the big shit and you can't walk none of it, my nigga. And that's just what this line is, you know. Once I brought that Kicked Out of Heaven out, nigga, shut the fuck up real quick. Because how you gonna complain about something you don't know nothing about? Because me, myself, I didn't know nothing about no white folk. I didn't know nothing about no werewolf. I didn't know nothing about no witches. I didn't know nothing about none of that shit. I knew about the same amount of shit that the average nigga knew. Halloween, a couple of movies, American Teen Wolf, ha 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 ha. You know, what was the fucking the lycanthropy movie? They called them the Lycans in the movie. You know, the Twilight movie or whatever the fuck that movie was called, where they had the vampires fighting. You know, they put it in a couple of movies here and there. You know, we didn't know what this shit was. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't a part of our history directly. Which, when you go down to the ancient stories of a lot of the tribes, they do have stories and supposed levels of magic where men can turn into lions. There's a couple of stories in the folklore of a couple of the tribes of turning into cheetahs as well. You know, Thoth, he's a baboon. You know, he's the only one in ancient Egypt that has the right over the monkey, the baboon. You know, and the baboon uh is not it's funny I stated that because the baboon is talked about up in here, and the baboon is a highly female dominated primate group, and you know the females control it by constant sex and constant draining a motherfucker. They constantly drain them. And see, watch, I'll show you real quick because I got a picture of them and it's so astounding. This is what happens when a female runs your tribe. So be aware it is. This is very important. Uh, Hold on. Oh, I don't think it. No, it's not underneath Bonobo. It's underneath a different word. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh my goodness, this came out really good, and I ain't got too many copies of this Alchemy of Women neither. So I suggest you come and get it. You know, I got maybe about 3, 4 copies left, and they are gone. I just shipped one out today. I can't even find the picture. I don't even know where it's at because I don't have the word bonobo in there. I think it's under like female dominance or some shit like that, where they show a picture of the bonobo primates. Is wild. Okay, so I definitely had to bring this forefront, the werewolf. You know, when it comes to all that other shit, the eating babies and all that shit, man, I'm not even gonna go into the details of what all of that is. You know, just know that the African American number one killer is abortion. So fix that problem because uh the encyclopedia on the alchemy of women is $100, and abortion is defined up in here too. Okay, we talk about the abortion, you know, because abortion is also attached to a woman becoming a witch by the devil by offering her own child, which was a part of the little stuff that you was reading inside the kick. What I was reading inside the Kicked Out of Heaven with the werewolf and tearing up the pregnant woman. That's where the most magic is at, supposedly, because we are the apex predator on this planet. Therefore, our blood and our muscles and everything else is the juiciest. Supposedly, it has the most power and strength than anything else. You know, so They're kicked out of heaven. You have to get it. The werewolfism is here. You get it. You buy it for a family member. You get it, and you just leave the box sealed and never open it up. That's how you got to do it. We got to start playing the game with antiques, and we got to start playing the game with legendary work, because 100, 200 years from now, these books will be extremely valuable. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. Give it 50 years from now and pass it down. The hard copy, yeah. This is paperback though. I do have hardcovers of the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women, which will be available soon. Here, I forgot. I had to do something with that. I'm glad I just reminded myself. But the Encyclopedia on the Alchemy of Women will be in hardcover, but it won't be as much information as the soft cover, because I had to cut damn near like 50 pages off of the volume 2 just to produce it, because they had a certain page limit. But yeah, this is what we're doing. Y'all, I had to do this for the werewolf moon. Okay. That just happened on the 25th. Peter Stubb died on the 25th. The werewolf needs to go down here to this fucking border in Texas and kick ass, my nigga. We want Trump back in office, and that's all there is to it. That's the only choice you have. He signed checks. Republicans get a nigga paid. See, a broke nigga, and then it was kind of funny. I didn't even read that part. Let me see there. Let me go ahead and confirm that. Yeah. Y'all want to see a Trump family member right here? Let's look at it. Let me show you something. This might be a little connection. Let's see here real quick. And watch this shit. So on the list of the American brothel owners and madams, right? 72 pages, right? And 72 total, right? It's very interesting. So look what we have here. Mother Damnable. That's a hell of a name. But look at this shit. Frederick Trump here. Frederick Trump was a brothel owner. Okay? You understand? The nigga got some pimping in the blood. So when he said grab him by the pussy, oh, and everybody went crazy and shit. Yeah, because the energy was already there, nigga. Okay, the energy was already there. Yeah, he was born of Bavaria. Oh yeah, that's definitely hardcore vampire land over there, but you best believe there were some what's names too. Oh, okay. Trump's earliest male ancestors, Johann Drumpf in 1667. So remember, parents or place of birth not recorded. So you see that? That was only about 60, 70 years out. 1589 is when the original Trump got taken to the stake for being the werewolf. So we don't know where that name came from. Okay. Immigration to the United States. Yukon Gold Rush. So get you a Yukon GMC. Okay, for the hotels and the brothels. I mean, to represent the Trump energy, we got to make the Trump energy thick so he can win. Look at this shit right here. In May 1898, Trump and Levin moved to Bennett, British Columbia, a town known for prospectors building boats in order to travel to Dawson. In Bennett, Trump and Levin opened the Arctic Restaurant and Hotel, which offered fine dining, lodging, and sex in the Sea of Tents. Oh, booty. That's how they made their. So look at that. That is how they started their empire. Was off the pimping and the hoeing. For single men, the Arctic was excellent accommodations as well as the best restaurant in Bennett, but I would not advise respectable women to go there to sleep, as they are liable to hear that which would be repugnant to their feelings and uttered too by the depraved of their own sex. So his family started in the hotel business and they stayed in the hotel business, obviously. This was in 1898. They've been in the hotel industry for over 100 years. They are a master in the art. It's been generationally in their blood. Okay. Yeah, the Arctic House was one of the most largest and most extravagant restaurants in that region of the Klondike Bar. You see that? There goes the fame behind the Klondike Bar, offering fresh fruit and ptarmigan. Okay, in addition to the staple of horse meat. Oh, that is a no. That is a medieval no. You are not supposed to be selling the horse meat. But hold on right here. What is it right here? Okay. The Arctic was open 24 hours a day and advertised rooms for ladies, which included beds and scales for measuring gold dust. That's right. The gold and the woman, they go together. The local detachment of Northwest Mounted Police were known to tolerate vice so long as it was conducted discreetly. That's right. You keep your goddamn shit. And that's what I love about Texas. That's the Texas mentality right there for sure. You do your shit and you keep your shit quiet. As long as we ain't got nobody screaming and the goddamn dumb shit you come out here shooting, everything is fine. You know, the whole Southwest got that mentality. That's why you better know how to hold your liquor out here. You dig what I'm saying? In 1900, the 111-mile White Pass and Yukon route, a railroad between Skagway, Alaska, and Whitehorse, Yukon, was completed. Trump founded the White Horse Restaurant and Inn in Whitehorse. They moved the building by barge, relocated on Front Street, and were operational by June. The new restaurant, which included one of the largest steel ranges in the area, prepared 3,000 miles per day and had space for gambling. Despite the enormous financial success, Trump and Levin began fighting due to Levin's drinking. They broke up their business relationship in February 1901, but reconciled in April. Around that time, the local government announced the suppression of prostitution, gambling, and liquor through the crackdown was delayed by businessmen until later that year. In light of this impending threat to his business operation, Trump sold his share of the restaurant to Levin and left the Yukon. In the months that followed, Levin was arrested for public drunkenness and sent to jail. And Arctic was taken over by the Mounties. So look at that. In the months that followed, Levin was arrested. Without her man, she fucking collapsed. Okay. The restaurant burned down in the White Horse Fire of 1905. Blair wrote that once again in a situation and created by many losers, managed to emerge a winner, Frederick Trump, because there was probably insurance on the building. Okay. So there it is. They stole, so the Trump family started with some pimping and some hoeing. We got to get this money up, nigga. And look at the empire. Look at the empire today. See, when you go into the Bible, when you go into the origin of Greece, the Amazons was at Corinth. Corinth was funded by the hoeing nigga. Like, man, it's a serious shit. Everybody want to turn their nose up. So ye without sin cast the first stone, my friend. This is a necessary sewer that runs underneath all neighborhoods. Okay. And then let me see here. Should I do this real quick? Yeah, let's do it. So let me see here. What are we looking at? What are y'all looking at on the screen here? Okay. No, this is the wrong screen. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was the Donald Trump tree I was looking at. Oh, I didn't show y'all that shit. That was on the wrong page. Was I on the wrong page? I don't know. Well, I was just reading the Trump hotels and brothels right here, but it did come from the American brothel owners. Okay, is y'all seeing that shit? Okay, there we go. I gotta make sure. So let's go to this real quick. I gotta go to this. It's been on my nerves to read this. Okay, it's been on my nerves. So, and I know, what's her name has been with me. for a while here. So we're not going to front. All my black Madonnas have been with me and they've supported, okay, and they've gotten the copies. So we're not going to, say that that's not there, okay? I don't be putting down no praise, but I thought this was interesting. I wanted y'all to read it. This is where the Kicked Out of Heaven has stretched, you know. Yeah, all these locations, but regardless of the locations, I got some other stuff here to read. I got a letter from some random woman. Well, it was a white lady. You know what I'm saying? She was talking about the Kicked Out of Heaven, and they don't have any fear when they operate. You know, and having all of this mentality where we're scared or we don't want another one to shine and all this other shit is just ridiculous. So I'm gonna read this real quick. Oh, hold on, it shrunk on me. I didn't mean for it to do that. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna read this and I'm out of here. Dear Mr. Booker, I lost my initial message to you just a few minutes ago. So again, okay. I started reading your Kicked Out of Heaven, the Untold History of the White Races writing work at least a year ago. I lost my place in system and just now found my way back to it. The writing. I have never forgotten what I did read, nor will I ever forget so strong told from a true place within you, awakening a needed to be told history. And I so have learned from this wonderful works, and I still have so much more yet to consume. I am so excited to have found you again. I sent you this message way back then also, but I am somewhat wiser now. I apologize the first time I wrote you for the white race. Now I understand and totally believe things you said while distinguishing the difference in the white male and each and everything that is not the white male, which includes her, the white woman. And I am sure I barely understand so far in what you are telling us, and I am ready to take in more. Okay. It is really hard for me to tell you perfectly just what you have changed in me. I will try. I am wiser about my place in the human races, though I feel very misunderstood. I feel prejudiced against because I am white, but yet less than in a society because I am a woman. I do not want to try to fit into a classification you drew lines in explaining, but I feel left out. I do not want to band with the white male position and crowd because she is very angry with them all for how they have uh for how they do women, thus her. I want to band to feel strong with women of each color, but white women are not accepted there. Also, the females truly are uh, being brought up and trained to behave so differently, but identifiably so according to color. No matter how hard she tries, it just does not gain in comfort when trying to blend into other different races of females' lives. And she says it's not fair. She wants to belong. She wants to find strength in numbers and be a part of some group. So go be with white women, maybe. Within this group is a hierarchy and a classifying of each. And I cannot stand running into this type of prejudice either. The fight to fit in just cannot be for her at this point in her life. She just turned 60 last year. Oh, and she says that was difficult. So, hey, maybe I will fit in with the senior citizen class, but she doubts because we are still women or men and the same different color. Thank you so much for helping me learn and understand how our society became as it is. This understanding does give me a solid grounding in truth about why the white male has treated her as he has since her birth, and why she acts out as she does, and have ingrained in her every cell her natural patterns that just are. And I am sure any change I try to stand up and make takes gets forced back into her because growth is just not allowed. Okay. uh yeah, so I guess she's fighting. She says, oh, she should mention that she even checked deeply into herself whether or not if the place to call home might be a group, um uh a place to call her home group just might be the lesbian community. But it has always been very clear to herself that she craves the male anatomy, and never could she fit in with a group of ladies, because it is not a superficial bonding that each group needs or gathers into each other to fit at it. No, it is much deeper, just as you are helping, just like I'm helping her understand through the books, I guess. I do not know what her next step may be to fit. I am sure I cannot help herself from trying. A deep loneliness sits in her, and I hate that others can see this in her. She is not weak. Okay, so yeah, I just, it was on my head to read that. I don't know why, but that's what's going on. Yeah, the paperback is $50 for the Kicked Out of Heaven. So yeah, that's one of my fans, I guess, from the academia.edu, that then what old white woman then found the Kicked Out of Heaven and is getting educated about medieval times and why you operate the way you do from the old Jizzle 720. Okay. That's just what it is. She got to start reading about that. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. I mean, if you can find books on the Ice Age, and the only people who brought any information about the Ice Age is going to be Europeans. Hence the book Iceman Inheritance by Michael Bradley. But I'm pretty sure you go deep into the vowels in that subject, you will find other scholars who have written on it and have some hardcore details. But once again, a lot of that material is very expensive. If I had a lot more support, who knows the type of material I'll produce in the future. I could get back to a book right now, but that's going to be dependent upon my audience, not necessarily me. So, because you got to buy time in this entrepreneurial thing. So y'all go to the Kicked Out of Heaven. Y'all get that. It'll be shipped out immediately. It's on sale. It'll be at that price, $50 for a long time, until the last few are around, because the price goes up, up, up. You dig? And I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Appreciate y'all checking in. Peter Stumpf, Donald Trump for president, Republican. Let's get this money. Big money in the year of the dragon. Let's be ferocious. Let's be ferocious and beautiful. Okay. And keep some blood on the fangs. Okay. I'm out of here. Peace.
Hugger tugging on my throat. Dinner tail became the spine, spread the nervous system, traveled through time. The third eye of the mind, sunshine to the blind, ignite liquid light, create breath in sight. So when the stars in dark fight, pterodactyls are born, dinosaur, lizard in natural form. After ages, epochs, blizzards and storms, it is ice age as we sharpen bronze blades. First art is drawn on the walls of the cave. My dead and God save Abel from Cain's hand. The game became man of the land. This is Canaan with a K9 by my side at all times as I ride from Nubia to Jerusalem. Babylon was built, flying in Hindu on magical guilds. From the coat of the bull to Bullock's milk, you will mummify the pharaoh in black and gold seal. This my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. This my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. El Shaddai, Mount Sinai, Aquila the eagle, we fly high, got the wise guy, a child of Israel, but is he real? And did he kill? Whatever done on this battlefield, it is God's will. When I dance in your skin, I got no chill, then blood spill. On the wheels of the chariot, we carry it to Greece. We seek war and peace, create hordes and streets. Looping our on our leash, birth the Byzantine beast. From the west to the east, village to village, for a medieval feast. Sprinkle acid in your yeast and lead in your wine. A crown for the clown as we rewrite time. Kings and queens deserve everything that we find. Outside of the garden of the lights, baby, it's all crime. Only Marys will cry. Saints pay no never mind till the witches start to fly. Laugh at the traitor that's amputated and fried. That's my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. This my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. Ahoy, the decoy, we got slaves to employ. They operate like animals, their souls are void, but don't make no noise. The natives will get you and eat you alive. After I gather their gold, I'll be wearing their hide. Without a godfather clock, the Mayans don't know time. Nobody's equal without the equine amigo and negro. Hung from a thin line, cartels and sambos, have some fun and some wine. From the boat to the dollar, we operate by the sign. Is it lies that we have? Stab the flag in the land, the moon in the sand. Put your hands behind your back for the contraband. Now we let blocks demand. Souls to the black hole, is that cold here? Open a can of whoop ass, on me hold my beer. As we dance with the carcass that we piss on fear. This is the money religion and our God is clear. This my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. This my only arrow, keep my eye on the sparrow. I keep my eye on the sparrow, cause this my only arrow. Stay alive. 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 Rappers like a savage, schizophrenia fun. Have you ever seen a skeleton and breathe with no lungs? All ribs, no tongue, steady bumping on his gums like they cocaine numb. The ungrateful son that takes shit from none. Red rum, come and get you some. Out the lake I come, the ocean depths. I rose from flesh, turn ghost from flesh. A skull with no nose that got smoke for breath. Come close to death and appreciate life, cause it might be tonight that you walk to the light and meet the great judge. Cause law don't make love. A bad plus the dove equals OJ's glove. Yo, shit ain't organic, it don't come from the mud. Become gigantic when they think that you're young. Slave ship Titanic, the prodigal one on an impossible run. Unlocking a ton from an Antarctica dungeon. Regardless, the heartless is always running. Fuck that smart shit, I'ma keep it 100. Just in case you was wondering, we come for the hunting. Now ain't that something? When slaves dig their own grave all in a day. Gold teeth for the skull, cause we gonna stay paid. Yeah, Stumpf the cane, the top hat gon' play. For the lost souls that need home, come this way. So shall I say, stay alive. 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 A wizard and gentleman, I'm Pippin O'Gilligan. The Indian, Caribbean, the lizard, amphibian. You come for the rum, for the sugar and cinnamon, but the soul is the gold, yes, the secret ingredient. And I bet you can't see me in a thin whirlwind. Make your wife my girlfriend, onyx and pearl skin, a vulture and pelican. Alligator shoes on, call me reptilian. My culture American, my diamond Sicilian. When it's French, it's French, at death's expense. Set your spirit on fire, then your heart's content. Can't start no shit, it won't make no sense. The poltergeist defense, don't leave no prints. Just give me the mint. The abundance is redundant, I must admit. Only betting the pig, so his throat gets slit. I'm a witch doctor, African and Celtic. The meek will inherit the earth until you perish the dirt. This is the state of the art, my nigga, cherish your work. Never embarrassed because it's the dark I lurk. This is Vlad the Impaler, the Ottoman Turk. Shaka Zulu Part 2, yes, a rebirth. Some of you need church because you grieve your curse. Be thankful for what you got, it could be a lot worse. We all raising it to hell, who gonna be first? The atmosphere my turn. Stay alive. Stay alive. Stay alive.